Hello and welcome to the third session for Satco Lighting Basics. Today we'll talk about LED replacements for linear fluorescent lamps, review delivered lumens versus lamp lumens, and look at plug-in compact fluorescent replacements using LEDs. Linear fluorescent come in many different shapes and sizes, and we have LEDs to replace them. There are different ways to replace traditional fluorescent, and we'll be covering that next. First, what are the specifications for fluorescent sources? Well, they have pretty good lumens per watt, life, lumen maintenance is good. It does require a ballast. The way they produce light is they convert blue light to white light. Color temperatures can range from 2500 up to 12,000. Not that anybody really wants 12,000. CRIs a broad range. And one thing you need to know about fluorescent sources, they all contain mercury. Replacing linear fluorescent with LEDs. Well, there's three ways to do that. LED linear types come in type A, which is compatible with the ballast. So you take out the linear fluorescent lamp, you go to your table on type A types, and you look up the ballast that's in that fixture. Because you can only use type A LED lamps on a ballast that it's compatible with. If that compatibility list is not there, then you should not use that lamp on that ballast. We looked at dimmers and showed that dimming LEDs require certain dimmers. And for type A replacement of fluorescence to LED, you have similar lists. Now these lists can be 50, 60, 70, 80 ballasts. So there is a wide variety and range of compatible ballast that type A lamps can be used on. It is the simplest conversion from fluorescent to LED. Find out the ballast, look for lamps that are compatible, take out the lamp, put in the LED, you're done. Another way to do it is with type B LEDs. Here, you would remove the ballast from the circuit and directly wire the LED lamp to line voltage. With this type of retrofit, the type B comes in two different models, a single end or a double end. And we'll spend some time on that so you understand the differences. There are also type A and B, which were called dual mode LED replacement lamps that can work on approved ballasts and also be bypassed. And they are noted as dual mode A plus B. And a type C replacement for fluorescents, you would take out the ballast and replace it with a driver, and then the fluorescent lamp would be replaced with an LED that is dedicated to the driver that you're putting in. So a type C retrofit is actually a system retrofit. Take out the fluorescent lamp and ballast and put in a dedicated LED driver and lamp that only work together. Type A, ballast compatible. Here's an example of one page of ballasts that are compatible with certain lamps. You see the model numbers of the LED replacement for fluorescent. On the middle of the bottom starts with an S, and then this is just the last page. So there, in these particular models, there are probably 50 different ballasts that it's compatible with. Any place you see a check mark, you can use it. For example, if you have a 2-light ballast on the first from ULT, you can use it. And if you go to the fourth line down, there's a particular ULT ballast where there's no check mark for 1 or 2 lamps, but there is for 3 and 4 lamps. And also note, it shows you whether it's compatible if it's a 120 volt line input or a 277 volt line input. All of these are important to note prior to installing a Type A lamp. Type B linear LED lamps. Here, Type B, you would disconnect the ballast from the circuit and run line voltage to the lamp in 2 different configurations. So Type B comes in single-ended versions or double-ended versions. The assortment of lamps in either single or double is very long. Note, for T8s on double-ended, it comes in 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, inch and 5/8 U-bend. In the 4-inch versions, we have 10 watt, 11 watt, 14 watt, 17 watt. We have flicker-free varieties. We have 8-foot varieties, T5 mini bipin. We have Buy America Act versions, and also notice that the lumens per watt are up around 135 lumens per watt. In Type B, not quite as wide a selection, but still pretty wide. Note in Type B, there is 6-inch U-bends as well as inch and 5/8. As far as wattages, they have similar wattages, flicker-free, a PLL lamp, 2 foot, that's with a 4-pin base. That's available in single end, as well as Buy America Act and very high lumens per watt. So what exactly is the difference between a double end and a single end? A double end, note the top right diagram. Notice that line is on one side of the lamp and neutral is on the other. And this is what we refer to as double-ended lamps. For a single-ended version, note the line and neutral are only on one end of the lamp, and the other end, those pins, are just in the socket holder to stabilize the lamp. They don't have any electrical connection. Why is one versus the other, or when do you need one versus the other? If the ballast that was in the fixture was an instant start ballast, then you would use a double-ended Type B lamp. If the ballast that was in the fixture was a rapid start ballast, then you would use a single-ended Type B lamp. So the reason that you use one versus the other, it has to do with the ballast that was in that fixture, because the wiring will be different whether it's instant start or rapid start. Instant start, double end, rapid start, single end. It's that simple. There are 2 types of fluorescent sockets: a non-shunted socket and a shunted socket. What's the difference? In a non-shunted socket, as you can see here, there's no connection between the contacts, and that's what's used in rapid start ballasts. In a shunted socket, the contacts are connected either internally or with the wire that comes out, it's joined together. So if you have continuity between these contacts, it's a shunted socket and you had an instant start ballast in there. If you have no continuity, it was a rapid start ballast, and you will have 2 wires coming out of the socket. So shunted socket, instant start, double end; non-shunted socket, rapid start, single end. Here's an estimate of the installed base of fluorescent lamps by type, T5, T8, T12s, and whether they're primarily instant start or primarily rapid start. 75% of the installed base is T8, and 80% of all T8 lamps are instant start, so they have shunted sockets. Common names F32, F28, F20, F25, etc. Instant start is the most efficient, and that's why it was primarily used in T8 lamps. For T12 lamps, which is a much smaller base of only 15% of fluorescents, most of these lamps are rapid start. Therefore, they would use non-shunted sockets. Magnetic and electronic ballast are used with T12. And again, they would all be rapid start. In T5, just 10% of the installed base, and most of those are in high base, all T5 4-foot lamps are rapid start. So it's a non-shunted socket. As an aside, T8 lamps are actually slightly longer than T5s, and therefore you could not put a T8 or a T12 lamp into a T5 socket. So here's an example of a dual mode. It's type A and type B. It's ballast compatible or ballast bypassed. Its UL listing covers type A or type B. And in this case, this type AB LED lamp will work in a single or a double-ended configuration. So here's an example of wiring diagrams for a dual mode T8 LED. For type A, there's no wiring diagram because it's as simple as recognizing the ballast, and if it's compatible, taking out the fluorescent lamp and putting in the LED. If you're going to wire it type B or ballast bypassed, this particular lamp can work either wired single-ended or double-ended. Let's look at the right-hand side diagrams. The top one is single-ended, where line and neutral are on one side. The second one is double-ended, and this is for existing shunted sockets. And in this particular lamp, because of the way it's designed, you can also wire the lamp double-ended using non-shunted sockets. Be careful if you're going to use these types of lamps. Ensure that you look at the wiring diagram and then determine if it can be single, double, and or can you use it in either application. So this is a very unique lamp. For a maintenance person, this lamp would be great because you would always be able to use this. If it's not ballast compatible, you can wire it in a bypass mode, whether it's single or double-ended. So here's a comparison of the type A, B, and C LED replacement systems. Type A uses the existing ballast as long as it's compatible, no rewiring, many options, high lumens per watt. Utilities, they usually have a program for this, but one of the things that they don't like is that you can snap back or revert back to using a fluorescent lamp. They've given a rebate to put in a more efficient lamp, and if you go back to the old one, that defeats the purpose. Type B uses line voltage, needs to be rewired. It has the most options. It's got high lumens per watt. Some utilities will offer it, others won't. You cannot snap back. You cannot put a fluorescent lamp in that fixture once you've bypassed the ballast. Well, you can, it's just not going to work. Cost, type A and type B are virtually the same cost now. Type C, take out the driver and the fluorescent lamp, put the dedicated type C driver in, you need to rewire it. It's got limited types of T8s and T5s. Lumens per watt, a little less efficient than type A's and B's. Utility programs, they'll usually honor this. They like it because you won't get any snapback or revert back. And it is the most expensive option because you have to put a driver in there or replace the ballast with a driver. Okay, many times we get questions about, well, I took out a 2800 lumen lamp and I replaced it with a 19 or an 1800 lumen LED. Aren't I going to lose half of my foot candles? Well, that's an excellent question. And let's go through the steps to show what happens when you do replace a higher lumen fluorescent with a lower lumen LED. Okay, a couple things we need to know. Fixture efficiency. I have a fixture and every one of them will publish a fixture efficiency. And what that means is what percent of the lamp lumens exit the fixture. In one of the examples we saw, they call that delivered lumens. So actual lumens exiting the fixture. Ballast factor. A fluorescent ballast comes in different power levels, and the most common is what we call a normal ballast factor. And I'll show you that a little later. And then we talked about mean lumens, or how many lumens do you lose over the life of the lamp. So we just replaced a 2850 lumen fluorescent lamp with a 1900 lumen LED lamp, a 40% reduction in lumens. Thinking about that, I have to think that I no longer meet the IES guidelines for foot candle levels. I took 40% of the lumens out. Well, let's see if that's true. 3-lamp parabolic fixture was used for decades, was the most popular lay-in fixture on the marketplace. Fixture photometrics. It says I put 2850 lumens into this fixture and the luminaire efficiency is 75%. Well, what that means is I lose 25% of the initial 2850 lumens. So let's do the calculation. 3 lamps, 2850 lumens, 8550 lumens, multiplied by 0.75, I have 6412 lumens. Why did we lose 25% of the light? It never got out of the fixture. So I don't have to replace 8500 lumens. I only need to replace 6400 lumens. Okay, let's now incorporate ballast factor into this equation. I have my 6400 lumens. I have a normal ballast factor ballast. I need to reduce the 6400 by 12%. That yields 5600 lumens coming out of the fixture, consuming 86 watts, and all 3 lamps contain mercury. The LED dual mode lamp, because all of its direction is down, none of the light goes up into the fixture to bounce around and never come out. So I multiply 1900 lumens times 3, gives me 5700 lumens. Let's call it an even amount of lumens. So the 3 T8 dual mode lamps have the same amount of lumens as the 3 T8 lamps. It consumes 39 watts versus 86 and does not contain mercury. So just looking at a comparison, the original system, 86 watts, 5600 lumens. The new system, 39 watts, 5700 lumens. And oh, by the way, is 40% more life than the original system. Annual savings, return on investment. Well, we haven't covered that yet, but let's just say that the return on investment would be a pretty short time period. So we've covered linear fluorescent. Now let's look at compact fluorescent. We'll mostly limit this to the plug-in types because the screw-in types, we've already covered LED replacements for screw-in types. So we saw replacements for linear fluorescent. Now we'll look at replacements for compact fluorescent. And the same system holds. There are type A compact fluorescent LED replacements and type B. Type A, ballast compatible. Compact fluorescent, their complication is the base. There are 20 different bases, and the way to look at this is, what base do you have? And with the replacement LED, will that base fit? For an example, in this type A, means ballast compatible, the ballast has to be on the list. You have a G24D3 socket. And these lamps are compatible with the G24D socket, so it fits. There's two different types. There's a vertical, if the lamp is vertical, and if it's horizontal, which many of them are, we'll have a horizontal lamp for you. And notice in the horizontal, it has a rotating base. So if you put it in and the lamp is facing sideways, you can just rotate it so all the light comes down. Again, the socket is the important thing. What socket's in that fixture? And is the socket that is on the compatible type A, is it compatible with that socket? And that's an easy to look up. In our catalogs, we say this is the base that you started with, and this is the base that can use, and it lines up pretty easily. Here's a chart showing you the horizontal and vertical types. We have a 16 watt that would replace up to a 42 watt compact fluorescent. Notice this is the base type, GX24Q, 4-pin, and the lamp will have a G24Q universal base on it. So yes, it will fit in there. Notice for the 9 watt, there are two different types of base types. The existing base types this lamp will work in, and notice G24Q will fit in any of these bases, these sockets. Okay, horizontal and or vertical. Important thing is the ballast compatible with what's in the fixture? Delivered lumens or lumens out of the fixture versus lamp lumens. This is another case of a fixture and looking at its efficiency to determine how many lumens you actually need to replace versus the lamp lumens. The 42 watt compact fluorescent delivers 3,200 lumens, but the fixture efficiency is only 55%, which means you lose 45% of the lumens. So only 1,700 lumens come out. An LED replacement 16 watt is rated at 1,750 lumens, and that's what come out. So you get the same amount of lumens and yet reduce the wattage by 26 watts per fixture. Ballast bypass. Yes, you bypass the ballast. Take the whole ballast out or just disconnect it from the wiring. Here, sockets and base matter. Understand what socket is in the fixture. Line it up to the base on the LED replacement. There's both linear and horizontal types, and the horizontal type has a rotating base. The direct wire is compatible 120 through 277 volts. Here's a similar chart. The first two are basically screw-in types. The 13 watt GX23, you go from 13 watts down to 6. The base types are listed under the existing base and what base the lamp will have on it to see that it's compatible. Note that 2-pin sockets can be in the fixture as well as 4-pin sockets, because that G24D base will actually fit into both 24D and 24Q socket. So just note before you recommend a lamp that it is compatible with the socket that you're putting it in. Again, these are ballast bypassed. There are 2 pins on the lamp, so line goes on one and neutral goes on the other. And as in linear fluorescent, we now have type A and type B in one lamp or dual mode. This is a 13 watt that will work on certain ballasts and or can be used in ballast bypass. We also have a 5, 7, 9, and 13 watt where the light comes out of both sides of the lamp. Generally, on a compact fluorescent, it'll come out either the front or the back and not both sides. Well, in this type B, it's 2-sided illumination. So if you have a fixture with light on both sides, this lamp will light that whole surface evenly. So as LED replacements for compact fluorescent continue to evolve, they will look more and more like the light output from the compact fluorescent. Well, we've come to the end of the 3rd session, and here's the quiz. What are the 3 types of LED T8 replacement lamps? Delivered lumens are lumens out of a watt. Instant start wire T8 fixtures being replaced with a bypass T8 LED should be retrofitted with which type of LED T8? Single-ended or double-ended? Compact fluorescent lamp bases include G23, G24D, and G24Q. True or false? So we're finished with session 3, and looking forward to session 4, we'll cover downlights, retrofits, and direct installs, high pro LEDs and their minimum compartment size, and Starfish smart lighting.